Hello everyone, welcome to our webinar. This is the TruEdit 2.0 webinar. I'm Will Stuber, Marketing Director here at MEI, and we are very excited to be showing you some of the new things happening with TruEdit. We expect this to last about 45 minutes. We will have a Q&A session at the end, but during the session there will be a Q&A pod open for you. If you have questions along the way, feel free to put your question in that pod. Your microphones are muted, so we won't be able to hear you, so you can use that Q&A pod to communicate to us. This session is being recorded, and we will follow up with all of you with a link to the recording. So I think we're ready to start. I'm going to hand you over to Brett Kisner. He's the Senior Director of Business Development here at MEI. He's going to take you on a tour of the new things with TruEdit. Go ahead.
Thank you, Will, and thank you everyone for joining us today. Greetings from early morning here in Philadelphia, and thank you for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here today. We really do want to show you everything that's new with TruEdit 2.0, but we do know that there are some folks here who are new to TruEdit as a whole. So we are going to try to spend some time just providing you an overview of the TruEdit platform and focus in on some of the things that we are most excited about in the TruEdit 2.0 release. As we get started though, let's talk about just the current situation we see with a lot of our customers and with content creators and publishers as a whole. What we see in the market today is that businesses are needing to take content and distribute them across multiple channels. This is nothing new. People have been publishing to print and web for a long time. But of course, over the last 5 years, it's become increasingly important not to just have a responsive website, but to be able to publish to mobile applications, tablet applications, and other digital channels. Ultimately, that means that our content marketing and our publishing strategies are fragmented. You have larger teams working across multiple verticals, in many cases authoring content for different channels independently. And we see that across both traditional publishers and corporations. Ultimately, though, many teams are creating content for print first. And this isn't because they see the print as the most immediate channel. It's simply a matter of reality. The print product takes the longest to get to market. We have to create it, turn it into a PDF, send it to our printer, ultimately print that, and then ship it to our end consumer. That takes more time than simply creating a post and publishing it to the website. But what folks are challenged with is repurposing that content and enhancing it for their digital channels. Very often when you start with content in a print-first strategy, it's cut to fit to meet that print need. And ultimately that means when you go out to your website, when you go out to your mobile applications, and social media, you're using content that is shorter than all of the content that may have been originally authored. So, what is the TruEdit platform and what are its key benefits? First and foremost, it's important to know that TruEdit is a cloud-based content management system. It is designed to work with anyone's access to the web, and it becomes a single control point, a single access point for all of the assignments, the tracking of your jobs and their workflow, the versioning of those, and ultimately for teams, the ability to have one place to know exactly where your projects and documents are and when they will be available. With TruEdit 2.0, we're introducing TruAuthor, which is our native HTML5 authoring environment. It allows you to create responsive design content that can go to websites, mobile applications, Facebook Instant Articles, and other channels. With TruEdit 2.0, we're extending the capability with the Adobe Creative Cloud applications, including not just Adobe InDesign, but Adobe InCopy plugins for print content. This will allow folks who still have a print strategy, because most people do, to not only create content for their digital channels, but also to author content to fit right into an InDesign layout. And with our integration with Zapier, we have over 500 applications compatible with TruEdit. That allows us to connect to tools like Dropbox, Twitter, Basecamp, Google Calendar, WordPress, Facebook, and more. So, what is the TruEdit platform? If you look at it, this is really the core of the system. It allows you to collaborate with your teams, sharing documents, tracking projects, communicating, and making assignments. Ultimately, that leads to a level of organization so that you can very clearly identify the relationships between a layout and the components used inside of it, like images and video and text, as well as the structure of an issue in both managing print and digital content. No workflow system would be complete without access management, and within TruEdit, you can manage content to track freelancers, for instance, so that they only get access to jobs they are a part of, and projects so that you can control access to a project just to the team that's been assigned. Of course, all of this is related to tracking, and within the system you can have an unlimited amount of metadata, not just tracking who a job is assigned to and what the status of it is, but what's the due date, what's the headline we should use for the web, what's the Twitter post we might want to send with it. Ultimately, you can track metadata not just for project management purposes, but downstream systems like digital asset management systems, web CMSs, as well as other information around contracts and rights management. And automating the output of your content, whether you need PDFs, InDesign packages, XML, HTML, or other formats, is a core aspect of the system. All of this is designed to be able to easily administer from a web browser, so you don't have to worry about managing servers and the applications that run on top of them. All of that's managed in the cloud by MEI. You simply go in, configure what are the user teams that are working on your projects, what's the organizational structure you want, what's the metadata you want to capture, and you're ready to go. So TruEdit at its core has a number of key interfaces, and today you're going to see all of them. You're going to start with the web client, and this is an interface for any user to be able to come into the system, whether you're doing that from a desktop, a laptop, or a mobile device. You can access your jobs, your metadata, and work on your tasks. Within the TruEdit platform, we also are introducing today TruAuthor. That's the HTML5 responsive design editor, and you'll see how through that we can create content that's ready for web and mobile, and also bring that content into print platform. Within TruEdit, we also have an InDesign plugin. This allows designers to be able to access their layouts and include TruEdit content into those layouts. Ultimately, this means a writer and editor, a photographer and illustrator can work right alongside the InDesign user concurrently, so that as changes are made to the copy, whether that copy is Word, InCopy, or even TruAuthor content, we can incorporate that into the InDesign layout, all in real time. And today we'll be previewing the new InCopy plugin, which will allow writers to get a WYSIWYG right-to-fit view of the InDesign layout without having to worry about all of the InDesign layout tools. And lastly, we'll be talking about the integration platform through Zapier. This will allow us to automatically connect to over 500 applications. So let's hop right into it. And before we go any further, of course, this is going to allow us to get our content out to all of the different platforms. Before we go any further, though, let's take a look at TruEdit at its core for those of you that are new to the TruEdit platform. We're going to start inside our web browser, and you'll notice I'm already logged into the TruEdit web client. Here within the TruEdit web client, I can see all of the jobs that have been assigned to me, and you'll notice these jobs are varied. I have an InDesign layout, I have an issue, and inside that issue I have several stories, and inside those stories I have print layouts, copy, and artwork. I have HTML articles. These are our TruAuthor documents we'll be looking at later. I have Microsoft Word copy, and a project down below. TruEdit at its core has a mutable hierarchy. This allows us to organize our content in the way that makes sense to our organization. So if I'm a traditional publisher of a magazine, I may organize things in a grouping by my weekly magazine, and I call that a title, as you can see here. And inside that title, I may have my individual issues, and inside those issues, my stories, and inside the stories, my documents. But if I'm a marketing organization or corporation, I may want to organize things by projects like I have here. And of course, most projects have sub-projects, and in those sub-projects, you'll see here, I've got my content, in this case, a layout and a story. And if I'm a marketing organization or an agency, really, agencies typically work with multiple clients. So above my projects, I may want to have a client. And in that client, I want to have a title and a project. Inside this, ultimately what you're seeing is a completely customizable organizational structure. This means that you're not predetermined to work in a structure that MEI predetermines. You can, through the web-based admin, determine what is your organizational structure, what are the workflow steps for each of the types of jobs, what are the teams that you can assign to individuals and groups. As well as all the metadata you want to track. And you can see here in this case, I've added the ability to track whether something is approved and what the due date is. All of that is ultimately customizable to track the information that is important to you on each and every job. But users typically want to come in here to actually work on their documents, and an editor might want to come in here and work on Word content, and they can check it out simply from the first column here. And it's going to download my Microsoft Word document, and I'll open that up right here. In addition to the web client, we also have the InDesign plugin, and you'll see that runs right inside InDesign. I have a TruEdit panel with all of the same job capabilities, and I can check out my layout simply by clicking on that first column to download it to my workstation. That designer, as we said, has the ability to work with content on the layout, and so very easily here they can look at any of the content, they can see previews of it. So if I'm curious about which one of these mountaintops I want to use as my background, I can look at both of them in a preview, simply drag and drop onto the page. Similarly, I can do the same thing with my copy. So we'll just make a couple adjustments here, and I'll go back into Microsoft Word and just want to show you the quick relationship between Microsoft Word and InDesign. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make a quick change to that Word content, and we'll go back to the web client, and we will check that in. Ultimately, whenever we check something in, the system automatically versions. We have full version history, and you can see here an example of some of that metadata. When I check in that file, my content is uploaded, and back over in InDesign, TruEdit will periodically check to see whether or not there are updates to any placed jobs. And just like that, you can see that we can very easily update the content, and we can even preserve all of the styling that's been applied inside InDesign. We'll go ahead and check that layout in. And in this case, it's sensed that there are a couple items in here that are not currently managed by TruEdit. This is another key feature of the system. Anything that's placed locally into your InDesign document, whenever you check the layout in, TruEdit will prompt you whether or not you want to add those images and the placed assets to TruEdit. The real benefit of this is whenever you pass content to other members of your team, you don't have to worry about them having missing links. I'm just going to go ahead and skip that right now, and we'll check that back in. You'll see the content is uploaded back to the server and then closed on my workstation. Going back over to the web client, we'll just hop into the administrator really quickly, just to give you a brief overview there. And you can see within the admin, here's where I can manage all of my users, all of my metadata, my workflows, the steps that are in them, where content can go in each step of our workflow, as well as the organizational structure, what we refer to as the hierarchy. This is where I can go and set up exactly those structures that you were seeing me show you before, like organizing things by client or by issues or by project or by title. Let's go back over to the web client. And then the last thing I want to show you in the web client is the filtering capability. This is really useful about being able to find the most important information. So if I wanted to, I can come in here and filter on the fly and say, simply show me everything that's in the first round. And I can see here the 3 layouts that are in the first round. I can say, for instance, show me everything assigned to the design team. And in that way, I can very quickly and easily find the jobs I need in the different roles that I play throughout our production process. And if I need to, I can even come in here and leave a note for the team. In this case, this is an image that's been tasked, and I want the team to know what we're looking for. So I'm just going to let them know we need a photograph of a whale in Prudhoe Bay. And that way, everyone else on the team, whenever they look at this job, they'll see that comment right there in the document and know that that's needed, and they can add their own notes, and we can have a communication dialogue back and forth. All right, with that those basics out of the way, let's talk about the TruEdit 2.0 features. The first area we're going to look at is TruAuthor. TruAuthor, as a reminder, is our HTML5 responsive layout tool. This will allow us to build content that's destined for websites, for mobile applications, and other digital channels. To start, we're going to go right into the web client, and I've got some TruAuthor documents already started. In fact, one of them is the product page for TruAuthor itself, and we'll go ahead and check that out here. You'll see that opens up right inside my web browser, and there are several different views to TruAuthor, a layout mode, an edit mode, and a preview mode. And let's start within preview mode since this document is already filled out. You'll notice I'm able to see this document. I'm able to preview all of the animation, all of the interactivity. So in this case, if I click on this photograph, I can see the video that Will and his team made. I can scroll down and see all of the different content. But the benefit here is that I'm quickly able to resize my browser to the different viewpoints. I can look at it as if it was in a tablet in landscape mode. I can also go all the way down to a mobile phone size. And the benefit here is you'll see the content automatically laid itself out to be responsive. So while we're on a phone, we can only support a single column layout. But as we expand our screen size, you'll see here the content automatically resizes to the screen width and ultimately moves into a multi-column responsive layout. In that way, we're able to take this one bit of content and send it out to multiple platforms without worrying about what the final size of the device that the content will be rendered on. In addition to the preview mode, of course, we need to be able to create content. And so TruAuthor also has an editorial mode. In this way, a content specialist, an editor, a writer, can come into TruAuthor and create their content. They can go and create headlines, apply HTML tags, decks, as well as all of their other content. They can even choose images. So to show you what that mode is like, let's go ahead and actually open up one of our templates that we've created here for TruAuthor. And we'll go right into our edit mode. And you'll notice here I've got prompts where I can come in and just enter in my content. And rather than have you watch me create all of this from scratch, we'll go ahead and just copy some content in. We also have the ability within this edit mode to populate our images. So I can come in here and I can select my images. This is where you can see I can select my content from TruEdit. I can browse to my local computer, find an asset, and have it automatically uploaded to TruEdit. Or I can enter in a URL for an image and link to content that may be already on a website, may already be in a digital asset management system. Ultimately, though, we expect to add into this ability to connect to other platforms, whether it's tools like a digital asset management system like Elvis or AEM Assets, or something like the Creative Cloud. That way you can access all of your assets within your single authoring environment. In addition to pointing to remote URLs, though, we can also source content from TruEdit directly. And I'll come in here and just search for some content that we have here. Go ahead and click OK, and you'll see that drop right in. But ultimately, in this view, writers and editors don't have to worry about the HTML tagging. They don't have to worry about classes that are applied to any of the containers here, the sections and the divs. Ultimately, they just come in and add in their content. All the while, this content is being tagged in the background. So items that are tagged as italic or bold are automatically ready to go out to any digital platform. And if we preview this right now, what you'll see here is that we have all of that content laid right in here. And as we drag it out, it is fully responsive. And you'll notice here if I click right up top, the video doesn't appear yet. And so to complete that, let's go into the layout mode. In the layout mode, you'll see here the designer has full access to their CSS. They can apply CSS styling on their entire document, onto rows of content, onto columns of content. In this case, we have a single column, but down below here in this second row, we have multiple columns. As you see here, I can affect the left column and the right column. I can come in and do things like resize those columns so to react to the responsive layout, as well as access all of my CSS that you see above. So as we said, we want that video to work, so I'm just going to come in here, select the TruAuthor image here. You'll notice it already has a class applied to it as part of the template, and I'm just going to pop in that link. So now if we want to, I can come over to the video, click, and you'll see here the video played. So without having to know a lot about web design, web development, I'm able to go in and populate my content. But as you saw within that design mode, a web designer or a web developer would be able to come in and add in a lot of capability, a lot of design flexibility very simply. And to show you an example of that, we'll go into one of the layouts that Will and his team created, because they're, of course, more creative than someone like me. And in this case, they took our Alaska layout that you saw in print and made a digital version of it. And you can see here, it's fully responsive all the way down to different screen sizes. And as we scroll down here, in this case, they've also added interactivity. So I can see what that content might look like in the case of a slideshow. I have spot for a video here we haven't brought in yet, as well as more content down below. So if we go back into author mode, you'll see here those images that became a slideshow, there's actually space for text. And so if I wanted to, I could actually go and create a caption simply by coming in here. I can style that. Maybe I want to make that knockout, so we'll just go ahead and do that. And if we go back over into our preview mode, you'll see here that now underneath that bear, we have our caption right laid in. So an editor has full control, has full capability, and ultimately the designer has control to make all of the design changes they need on the fly, but we can also start with a template. So a lot of different flexibility. But TruAuthor is valuable not just for being able to create content for digital channels like your web CMS, like your mobile applications. And I should say, before I go on, that content can all be automated extract through our Zapier connection or downloaded as an HTML package. That content, though, has extra valuable information. Because it is already tagged, we can take that content and bring it into InDesign. So to show you that, I'm just going to move to another TruAuthor document we have here, similar content. You can see here again, it is fully responsive. What we are working on to release in TruEdit is the ability to save all of these independent text threads as objects in TruEdit. The idea being is that whenever a user saves their job to TruEdit, that content will be saved in components that can be used inside Adobe InDesign. Ultimately, that means a designer working on an InDesign layout will have the ability to take that layout and drag their content from TruEdit onto the page. But the real benefit here, I actually just dragged the wrong one, so let me undo that. Drag their content out onto the page, do that again. And what you see here is I have my headline. I can go and I can apply formatting to it. I can do all the things that are typical to a print workflow. So if I needed to, I can manually adjust the rag of the copy like I did there. I could go in and apply styling for things that didn't come in automatically styled. And I should say for the things that were automatically styled, these are items that where we map the tagging from HTML over to InDesign. And that really does accelerate the print production workflow. But the benefit here is the designer is not limited there. They can make whatever overrides they need, including changing fonts, changing formatting, whatever is necessary, all while retaining the link between TruAuthor and the InDesign document. So that if they want to make a change to that headline, and they want to come in here and turn Explore into Exploring, and change Denali to Alaska, they could do so. All the while, they're creating content that's ready for that digital platform, like you can see here, but also making that content available to InDesign. Ultimately, what you'll see when we go back over to InDesign is that the content will appear out of date, and when InDesign automatically updates those links, the headline will change, the formatting, the manual ragging of text, even the applicability of that pull quote down below. All of that was preserved. In that way, with TruAuthor and TruEdit, we can have a single content creation workspace where an editor and a writer can create content that is digital ready to go to the web, to go to our mobile applications, to go to other digital channels at any time, all the while being able to bring it into a high fidelity print design workflow. That means a designer doesn't have to wait for content to be exported from the web CMS and then worry about changes that are made in the web CMS that need to be brought into a print workflow, or vice versa. We have one source content. It's HTML5 native. It's digital ready, but it can also be brought into print. Very flexible, very easy to use, and we're very excited about that. So what else? If that wasn't enough, as part of TruEdit 2.0, we are also introducing InCopy integration. This is a plugin that will work right inside Adobe InCopy, and ultimately that will enable a writer or editor to edit their content to fit inside an InDesign layout. We'll manage those InCopy files as part of the TruEdit workflow, giving them full assignment capabilities, versioning, routing, and workflow. So let's take a look at that InCopy integration. Go over into Adobe InCopy, And you'll see here I already logged into the TruEdit panel, and I can see here the different jobs that have been assigned to me, including the Alaska InCopy project. And inside that project, you'll see here I've got an InDesign layout, I've got copy, I've got artwork. Right here within InCopy, I have the ability to have multiple ways to access that content. I can see the individual InCopy files, and if I wanted to, I could check those out. And when we do that, TruEdit knows that that copy is connected to this layout, and it will automatically show the content within the context of the layout. So let's just go ahead and do that here. You'll notice it automatically opens up the layout. It shows me that content inside the layout. So for those of you that might be using InCopy out of the box, that are familiar with the assignment workflow, the InCopy assignments files, things like that, you don't have to worry about that. You just go in and say, this is the story I want to work on, and we know in the background what layout you need to work with. And you'll see here I have the ability to make changes there. Now that I'm working inside that layout, though, I have the ability to do a number of things. I can come into another frame here, and TruEdit will automatically prompt me if I want to check out that story. I can do that, and without having to go back to the panel, I can get immediate access to that text to begin making edits. I also have the ability to access a TruEdit contextual menu where I can save versions, I can check out everything, I can check in everything. I can even access the workflow. I can assign something to another member of my team. So if I wanted someone else to work on this without having to leave anywhere, I can come in and say, well, you know, let's assign the story to our product marketing team, and I'll just type them a note. Can you review this content for accuracy? And ultimately, they'll get an automated email that will tell them this job's been assigned to them and they need to work on it. Now remember, I made a change to that headline. What I'm going to do is we'll check that headline back into the system. As I mentioned before, the system automatically versions all jobs in the system. What that means is that at any point in time, we can access our version history and even roll backwards in the workflow. So in that way, you can see this headline that we modified. I'm just going to come right back in here and say, let's revert to that previous version. TruEdit will automatically download the last version of that InCopy file and restore it right here in our layout. And so you'll see as it does that update, that content will show right in there. Just like that. So with that, I have all of that version history. Let's go ahead and just check everything inside a print workflow, but you don't have to start in a print workflow. We see a lot of workflows where content can move from TruAuthor, be authored natively in a single source, move into InDesign, and integrate between TruAuthor and InDesign. And ultimately, when it becomes time to copy fit, that content can be brought into InCopy specifically for print-specific changes. So let's look at one of the other items in the TruAuthor, or the TruEdit 2.0 integration, and that's our integration with Zapier. Through our Zapier integration, we have the ability to connect TruEdit to over 500 other application platforms. This includes very technical things like Microsoft SQL and MySQL. This includes tools like Facebook and Twitter and Google Calendar, Google Sheets, even WordPress. Ultimately, what this means is I can use TruEdit's integration with Zapier to bring content into TruEdit, such as creating a new job from a piece of artwork that was dropped into a Google Drive or a Dropbox folder, bring in new projects that were started through a web form, creating an entry in a Google Sheet, or be able to take content out of TruEdit and automatically post it to my Facebook page or to my WordPress website, or to be able to send content to Twitter or Trello or Slack, for instance. Ultimately, I can get content from where I am to where I need to go. And what that may look like for some folks are things like that. Be able to import a new job, send a post, use a web form. So let me show you how I've been using it. And I've been using it to allow me to author content for Twitter. So if you're following me on Twitter, and if you're not, please do. This morning, I sent a tweet out about 5 a.m., 4 a.m. our time here in Philadelphia. But I wasn't up to do that. What I did was in TruEdit, I authored that content as a job. So you'll see here in my TruEdit 2.0 project, I have a social area. And inside that social area, I have a number of tweets. And so yesterday, as we were working with the team to plan this last webinar of the TruEdit 2.0 launch, we went ahead and we created a tweet in here. And we created a workflow where we authored that tweet, and it said, seen TruEdit 2.0 yet? Last webinar at noon GMT. And we decided that that should go out at 8:45 in the morning, Greenwich Mean Time. Ultimately, we moved it through a workflow. It reached a status of finished. Someone checked off the approved metadata, said, yes, this is approved. That became scheduled. And when we hit 8:45 this morning, TruEdit automatically passes that content through Zapier over to Twitter. That means I was able to completely execute my mobile social media strategy without having to go through in-person updates. Ultimately, what you've seen today is a workflow where I can author content for digital channels, print channels, ultimately take an omni-channel approach to my content, track all of the projects, the individual jobs, the teams that are working on it, the steps in the workflow, and be able to take that content out to all of the places that I need to reach my end user, whether that's print magazine, a mobile application, a website, or other channel. And through that way, we can make TruEdit the single hub.
Very good. It's very exciting.
Content.
A lot of new things, a lot of things to think about here.
So with that, I'm going to stop the screen sharing.
Thank you all for joining us today.
I'd be happy to take any questions.
We will be sending out the recording to you all in case you want to view it again or pass it on to others. I will also be posting it on TruEdit.com. I'm going to go ahead and leave the room open for a few minutes in case